Okay, and now I'm supposed to keep things on a schedule. I will try to do my best and also to allocate some time for questions. But let's start for the first one that was supposed to be in the previous session, but for some problems he couldn't. It's Albert Morcego from the ICAEN, the Catalan Energy Institution, who is going to tell us about the Catalan energy perspective.
Thank you very much. Well, I will try to center on the main things of this, the main concepts of this plan, which anyway, if you can consult it in the internet if you need more details. In 2003, there were elections for the Catalonian government, and the new government had the commitment to substitute the former plan, which had the horizon of 2010, for a new one much more biased to environment protection, geographical balancing, energy policy integration in other policy sectors, and a starting point of the evolution of Catalan society towards a sustainable model. There were also reasons related to the moment, as from 2001 to 2003, in 2001 there was the former plan. There were important changes related to energy. The oil prices rose sharply. The Kyoto Protocol, which was not only an obligation that changed things, but also the rise of a climate change conscience that forces us to act. The plan is structured in 3 time horizons. It performs a long-term analysis to guide the government and the Catalan society in the energy subject, having in mind the technological evolution forecasts, the non-renewable resources progressive exhaustion, climate change, international energy prices, evolution, etc. A medium-term strategy with a horizon of 2015, where it develops the strategies on energy saving and efficiency, renewable energy, infrastructures, quality of energy supplies. These strategies are driven by a decided bet on energy savings and use of renewable energies. The short-term plan has a horizon of 2010 and contains an action plan with the detail of all the actions to be taken in this term. Let's see the energy situation in Catalonia. Primary energy consumption is 26.5 million tons of oil equivalent in the year 2006. That's that's around 532,000 barrels per day. Of these 26.5 million tons, almost half is oil. Almost a quarter is nuclear. Another quarter almost comes from natural gas, and these almost, I said, are filled with renewables that amount to 2.4%, and others, which is 3.9%. What is others? Mainly, others are the electric balance, which is negative. Coal is a small, still some coal in Catalonia, and renewable waste. Here you can see the graph with the energy flows. Please note that the primary energy production includes nuclear electricity, which might mislead to think there's a considerable energy production in Catalonia, which is not true. Almost all the primary energy consumed in Catalonia comes from outside. The plan devises 2 scenarios, the base scenarios and the IER scenario. Base scenario is a tendency scenario characterized by a stable economic and energetic growth pattern, as well as an energy policy without remarkable changes. So the economic growth is positive and moderate. Inflation and public deficit are low. Social energy and environment awareness keep growing. There's a progressive liberalization of energy products and services. Taxes evolve towards the European eco-tax. renewable energy saving and energy efficiency policies are maintained with additional efforts to achieve the Kyoto Compromise. The IER scenario, the IER stands for Intensive in Effect Efficiency and Renewables. Is the same as the base scenario, except that all measures previewed in the energy efficiency strategy and the renewable energy plan that are part of this plan are effectively undertaken. You can see in the graph the difference of the primary energy consumption that would result between the two scenarios. This slide, you can appreciate the different composition of primary energy in one scenario or the other. There's something that should be taken into account. The right-hand chase is smaller than the central one, so nuclear production in 2015 is the same, though in the IER scenario might seem it's more. In fact, it's a bigger share of a smaller cake. This slide is based on the Energy Information Administration, which is quite close to the International Energy Agency, though they tend to be more optimistic about fossil fuels. The energy supply growth is based basically on fossil fuels. It's an 85%, and those on coal. We can see a drop in all supply percent, though the absolute values grows heavily. If such thing happened, Mr. Aleclet would lose his bet. Electricity produced based on natural gas would grow heavily, as well as produced from coal. Renewable energies are on a process of high technological development. That's why their share may have higher changes than those previewed. The crisis scenario. I don't think this audience needs many explanations about this possibility. And I'll tell is that the plan exposes the possibility that the peak oil happens in the period to 2030 and the possible substitutes for oil. It also exposes the need to change to the sustainability option. This option is a wider questioning than how are we going to get energy when we reach the end of oil. It questions how are we going to live without ever increasing our resources consumption. So it's not an energy question, but a social question with deep roots in all aspects of human lifestyle. I hope this conference will shed some light on this. I will conclude the long-term prospects with a scenario where the oil prices are high and volatile. There's a need to replace oil with other energy sources. The present energy model has growing environmental impacts. A scenario is not a prediction, but a view of the future. The purpose of this view is to prepare our lives for this future so that we can live comfortably in it. It is not possible to increase indefinitely our energy consumption. It's not me who says this, it's the IEA too. They recognize in 2007 World Energy Outlook that the Chinese and Indian cannot change to our lifestyle. So we have to design a future having in mind that resources cannot be consumed at an increasing pace. Well, I will skip most of the details of the plan. So as to tell you about the new scenarios we're working on. In fact, we are making a new plan with a horizon of 2030. And I'd like to expose an outlook of the scenario we will probably bet on. This means it's not decided yet the final plan or the scenario, but our lines of thought follow these trends. There are three things to be considered when devising scenarios: energy, environment, and economy. The situation has changed a lot since last plan. There's a crisis that seems to be a monster with many heads: financial crisis, real estate crisis, energy crisis, environmental crisis, food crisis. All these crises have appeared quite suddenly, preceded by a steep rise of oil prices. In the previous plan, there was not any provision of system collapse in the short term, while now the financial system is not known how what is going to provoke in our economic system. This doesn't mean the energetic problem is over. It's probably postponed sometime, and it may return with much more strength if there is a slowdown in oil extraction facilities. Energy crisis and food crisis may soon come back, and we may be faced with the old problem. It's not possible to grow indefinitely in a finite world. Meanwhile, climate change is waiting for us. We should learn to have a self-limiting growth so that we can talk about sustainable development. It would be meaningless to continue business as usual once the crisis is over. We see in sustainable energy development a source of jobs for the future of our country. We have defined 58 events that belong to our best scenario. I like to read you some of them. By the end of 2015, oil prices are over $250. Before 2012, oil, conventional and non-conventional offer, is not enough to cover demand. In the 2012 and 2015 period, natural gas importing countries start to have supply problems because of lack of infrastructures, given the fact that there have not been built enough infrastructure to ensure the development of international gas trade. In 2015, the European Union sets a transition strategy towards a new socio-economical model characterized by a low-carbon economy, a reduced energy intensity, and a high productivity of resources. In 2025, the majority of non-perishable products made in Catalonia, following United European Union directives, have to be designed so that their use life is twice as long as their 2008 counterparts, and the production residues are half as much as 2008. The 3R design: reuse, reduce, recycle. In 2011, the countries that signed the Kyoto Protocol, as well as the main emerging economies, signed a new treaty much more strict. In 2014, all European Union countries apply a sustainability taxing system that internalizes environmental external costs and the production and use of products and services. Starting in 2018, it's admitted that non-conventional oil obtained from ultra-deep fields, ultra-heavy oil shales, slow their pace of growth. In 2010, the Spanish government launches a shock plan to face the high prices of fossil hydrocarbons with the purpose of significantly reducing at medium-long term their consumption and their corresponding CO2 emissions. In 2011, the OPEC production swing is smaller than 1 million barrels a day. In 2013, some developed countries start to have temporarily oil supply problems. In 2015, world oil production slows down and starts to show a plateau. By 2030, in developed countries, energy demand has stopped to grow given the technological progress, energy efficiency, and successful policies of high productivity and resources and reduced energy intensity. As you can see, there is some optimism in one of the events. This is going to be the frame on which we set our future plan. Well, I want to thank you for your attention, You can see the present plan there in that web address, and you can contact me if you want in that email. Thank you very much.
I'm Carles Ibáñez from ASPO, Spain. I wanted just to make the suggestion that maybe you should also consider scenarios which can be worse, in the sense that peak oil can be sooner, and Catalonia, of course, depends absolutely on oil and gas supplies. So you may also consider for the next decade a scenario which is not maybe as positive as this showed, because maybe it can happen, and we should be prepared for that, and we should know what to do. That's my suggestion, and I wanted to ask you about the opinion of this type of a scenario. Thank you.
Yes, there is an emergency plan. There will be an emergency plan. But that's not the scenario we're thinking on. It might happen, but it will be just an emergency plan, not a scenario. Our scenario, it's more balanced.
Simon Taylor from Global Witness. One thing that you cannot escape from if you travel around Catalonia is the extraordinary expansion of the roads network. All over the place you see roads that are perfectly adequate, being doubled up, being driven through areas of relative pristine countryside. And of course you also see the massive expansion of airports, like in Girona, and of course here in Barcelona as well. Surely Catalonia has to get a grip of this unsustainable expansion. What is the purpose of expanding these roads and destroying some of the best heritage you have in order to fill with what cars? And in many cases, the traffic congestion simply does not justify the expansion. So my question really is have you considered this expansion? Is there any possibility of stopping some of these white elephant projects? And how are they going to be financed in light of the enormous economic slowdown?
In the plan, it's as it was the former plan. It's as transversal as possible. It's not just an energy plan. All departments participate in the plan. So given this scenario, the planning will consider all other aspects of planning. Yes, I suppose you want a more precise answer about road development, about airports expansion, about facilities, but this is not devised yet.
Just as thought, it's possible when you make these plans into the future that you also can put in another parameter, that is the security, the energy security, or the energy part that goes into the plan. I mean, so you can put in an energy security on electricity, on natural gas, and on oil, and so on. What is the scarcity? What can happen in the future? And I just recommend you to do this kind of analysis, because then you will find at the end you will have a plan that has no security at all.
I don't know if you are asking something or just giving a recommendation. Of course, the energy security is part of the plan. No. At the moment, we have the infrastructures and the infrastructure expansion, but in the end, if the system collapses or the energy supply collapses, there's no possible security. We would be in an emergency plan.
Thank you very much. I'm afraid we don't have time for more questions.